we gonna do our things first? Give out all of our stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello everybody, I'm Dark Knight 316 from the Round Table, and this is
Robert Wheeler Gaming.
Come join us every week while we do this podcast. We also have other channels that we see, like I have a drinking channel and eating channel, and I also have we have a wrestling channel, and we have a loot box channel. And then what other channels do you have?
Right now I'm going over through Platinum Retirement Series, where I'm trying to reach max level on the PlayStation, as well as I'm going over collection videos and going over the gaming news every week. So
yeah, so catch him at Robert Wheeler Gaming, and then me at Dark Knight 316 the Round Table, and just give it a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a subscribe, so we can build up our user counts up on that, and then maybe we can give giveaways, do game playing with everybody, all
get this
kinds
thing
of different
going,
stuff.
So
yeah, so we're just trying to build our channels there, so we're looking forward to you guys subscribing down below. So this is what we're starting off with, is what we're drinking, and he brought me this Monster Ultra Sunshine,
and I got the Ultra Vice Guava. Kind of looks like the colors of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. And then I'm drinking it in my coffeebrandcoffee.com mug. They're not a sponsor of this podcast. I'd like to let that know, but if they want to, they can reach out to me.
And I just happen to have a big generic mug like this big, so we'll I don't know if you can see it when I pour it in here, but like, look at the color of that one. That's why I wanted to come, like, look at that. Oh,
it's all nice and clear.
Yeah. So I had to come in there and just show what it looks like in a really, really clear mug.
And then of course mine's still orange, so. So what we're going to talk about today is we're trying to figure out what we think the name and story stuff of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, what it's going to be called. So I'll go first. I think rumors have it that it's going to be called Reclaim. I hope it's not called Reclaim. I hope it's called Revelation, because that's the end of the book in the Bible, and it's the end of this Final Fantasy story. So I think that would make a better name. Plus, Ragnarok comes with all the meteors and all that stuff like that. Same thing that happened in the OG Final Fantasy VII. So hoping that that's what the name is. But what do you think the name's going to be?
I think it's going to be Resurrection, but I'm going to go with, remake of the remake, because it's going to be remaking everything. Replaced, because by this time they're going to be replaced. They can't figure out what's going on. Revive, because they got to try to revive from the series of what was happening in the other one. So, it could be anything, but I think it's going to be Revelation. But I do think it's going to... The only reason why I don't think it's Revelation is because it's going to stick the pattern of kind of like...
What about Reborn?
Reborn, I don't think... Because you gotta think of what's left in the series, what's left, because you got disc 2 on.
We'll be talking about that when we get further.
But I don't think it's gonna be Reborn.
You don't think it's gonna be Reborn?
No. Well, because you already had Rebirth, so I don't think they're gonna have something similar to that.
Remake squared. All right. So, do you think you're going to be riding the airship like you did in the OG one, where you have free control of riding it? Or do you think it's going to be somewhat similar to the Bronco that we rode in the second part? What is it, Rebirth? Sorry, we were talking about, like, where you can only get to certain parts of it and then get off and then go to it. Or do you think we're going to full blown ride it? I
think we're going to ride the airship, but it's going to be more of the kind of like how
you think
the Bronco
was.
It's going to be... No, I think you can go actually world map, but the way that they have the world map structured, it's not really going to be too much like, oh, I could fly to this area in the far right corner to figure out where to get Knights of the Round or something. I think it's going to be more of like, you're still kind of in that little location, but you can take it to wherever you want to go. So you can fly it like normal, but I think the way they did the Bronco wasn't as fun because it didn't really give you like you rode it a little bit and then you just kind of like fast travel to wherever you wanted to go. You didn't really ride it like you got to ride it, but it wasn't really something trying to push to ride it consistently.
Well, see, I think it's gonna be more like the Bronco because of this is like an episodic type thing, so it'd be hard to kind of just open the world to you and let you go wherever you want and revisit all that stuff like that. They have to have a plan of the chapter ones and stuff like that. So I don't think you'll have free control of it, even on the like the last chapter. I think you'll just have like parts of it will be opened up and you can just go to there. But really, you're not going to be free.
Was it chapter 11 or 12 in Rebirth? That's when the map fully opened. You could do whatever.
Yeah,
so I think it's
you're just teleporting.
Like
you're not really flying.
Yeah, you were able to ride the Bronco, go and get the materials to build, to get the Genji armor and Genji rings and stuff like that. So you can get the Genji equipment. I think it's going to be. I think they're going to open it because here's also the thing too, we'll talk about it a little bit later. But like if you have to go back to Shinra headquarters. Am I gonna fly over there? Am I gonna ride a chocobo? Like you gotta think of.
Well, I think
like
you'll
that.
fly it, but it's gonna be where it's just gonna have like little like nodes on there, like how the Bronco was, where you see like a beam.
Yeah,
you go there.
I think they'll do stuff like they won't actually let me like fly up right up to like
like you won't be able to fly like anywhere you want. It'll just be you can only land at the certain spots up on there. That's what I think it is. So the next question I have is, where do you think it's taking place? Do you think it's going to
the start of the game?
Yeah, like the start of the game. Where do you think it's going to take place?
It was the Icicle Cavern, right? Right after. I think it's going to take place there, because they have to have like an ice stage. But I think they're going to slowly get rid of because you got to think like they did like Junon. Because as you went through, you had to go back to Junon. So I think things where you had to go back. Like, your main towns, I think, is, like, you're going to go to an Icicle Cave, because you're going to go there, and then it's, like, find your way out of there. So you got that town, you got Rocket Town, because you got to explain Sid's story a little bit more. So you're going to have that main. You're going to have to end with Yuffie's character, because...
Yeah, they said that you're going to be exploring Wutai, yeah.
Because... Wutai's in the war with Shinra, but also you have to figure out like what happened to Sonon. They never explain in the second one what happened to Sonon, Weiss, Genesis. Like think people like that if they're even going to add them into this part. But then you also think, I believe that's the time too. Doesn't Barrett go back to? Can't think of the location right now, but with Dying Coral Prison.
Yeah, Coral Prison.
And it doesn't go back
because that's where that train is supposed to crash and take that out, and you have to stop to get the huge material.
Yeah, and then Tifa goes. You have the slap fest with Scarlet. So
yeah, that's still in that airship. But,
so I think.
But I'm trying to remember from the OG. Was that at Junon or was that at Shinra's place?
No, I think it was. Wasn't that the slap fest where when the train was going to Corral? Like you were trying to stop the train and you guys were slapping each other?
No, because I thought that was on the airship. I thought you were trying to steal the airship.
That might,
and then like she had to run to go climb up on the.
That might have been, but this whole time though, I think they were having us be able to play without Cloud because Cloud is not going to be playable for most of this third one. So I think a lot of people will probably be mad. Because they're going to be, I can't play as Cloud. Cloud's my favorite. How come I can't play as Zack either? And then I don't think you're going to play as anyone.
Remember in the Rebirth one, you played as Zack at the beginning.
Yeah. You know what? They could possibly do that. And like, they can possibly add a scene in the live stream of Zack and Aerith trying to figure out how they're going to stop Sephiroth. But you got to think, though, if they keep it towards the original, like, Aerith is dead. She doesn't come back, so they shouldn't bring her back.
Well, I mean, on the Rebirth one, you see Cloud could see her, and you see that the white materia he has, and he has the black materia now.
Because see, from the original to this one, Remember, they never explained with the white materia. They
Yeah.
introduced it into this one, so they can do whatever they want now with the white materia, basically.
I mean, that could be the link to the two worlds. That's
But-
why Zach is able to come out and connect to it.
But you
because
also
of the
have to
white
think,
material.
though, if they bring back Aerith in a way of like they're able to bring her back to life, then you completely change the whole story, because when Meteor comes, she's casting Holy to stop Meteor. So you have to change up that completely. But what I think is going to happen is I think they're going to have, because in Rebirth, it wasn't like safe for Sephiroth and all that, right? It was. So the last one is probably safe for Sephiroth. But I think what's going to happen is they'll, I think your final battle is going to be
At the Northern Crater.
yeah, like normal, but I think they're going to have it with Cloud, Aerith, and Zack all fighting Sephiroth at the end. I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be a I personally don't like that, but I think that's how they're going to make it, just to keep the fans happy with being able to play Zack and Aerith again. So,
well, what I think it's going to take place is it's still probably going to be that the Icicle Inn, but what I think is going to happen is, because if you remember at the end of Rebirth, I mean, if you haven't beat it by now,
it's been about a year,
so
spoilers.
It's not really a spoiler, but at the end, they all get onto the tiny Bronco to go and, like leave up on there. So I think something will happen to the tiny Bronco where they crash land in Icicle Inn. And then when they do that into the Icicle Inn, that's when they try to escape and try to find a new way to do it. So possibly that's how they can, either get the airship then or go and get something else that will, allow them to travel through the water, through the Bone Village and all that
Well,
stuff.
isn't
like that.
the airship the one that, as you were talking about earlier, isn't that the one they steal from Shinra?
They steal the big airship on
Yeah,
it, but
so I think that's
they
part
made
of
this
it.
tiny Bronco. Remember, the tiny Bronco can only go so far, and then it had that car.
Yeah.
So maybe they're going to use the car or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be like that. And I also don't think that you're going to play with Cloud because he's too confused and corrupt. So he's going to be going into that coma.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're going to probably start out with like Tifa and the rest of the team, and then they're going to go to try to figure out how to save Cloud. So they're going to go look for those doctors, because remember in like Rebirth and Remake, those hooded creatures were always looking for a doctor to try to cure him. And in Rebirth, they found that one guy in, I think, Corral Prison or Corral area where Barrett was. And you could see that he was healing all those people up on there. So I think that that's what they're going to try to do for Cloud. But then Cloud's going to go where he falls into live stream like the OG one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think that you're going to play with Cloud. And I do think his Buster Sword will break.
That's what I was
The
gonna
only reason
ask
why
you.
I think the Buster Sword will break is because when you saw him put the black materia into the sword, and he's doing the bidding of Sephiroth, I think that sword's going to get corrupted, where it's going to break in half, and then possibly he's probably going to get the Advent Child sword, because they did say it's going to be connected, or they want to try to make it connected to it. And in Advent Child, he doesn't have his traditional Buster Sword. He has a way to put in a bunch of the different swords and the materials in there, and then he can have like 4 swords that he fights with.
I actually
and
had
stuff like that.
a couple of questions that just came to mind. I know you have your show notes, but I wanted to crumple those up a little bit and toss it. 2 things that came to mind is, one, how do you think Sid's gonna play and Vincent? And then 2, do you think that they're going to take away like the story and focus more on like the side characters? So not a lot on Tifa at the beginning, not a lot of Tifa.
Well, I think that since you're not going
Barrett.
to be playing with Cloud, you're going to be interacting with these side characters more.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, you may have to break off into groups and find different things.
they'll
So,
do groups again.
so it'll probably be like Sid, Tifa, and Yuffie break off to try to find material to save Cloud. Then Vincent, Barrett, and Red 13 like go off.
But do you think though it's going to be like when you go to Wu Tai, for instance? Do you think because you remember at the very beginning, I go back to call it the OG. you went through those stages, and then finally, once you made it to the top, like you fought her dad.
Well, this is the next.
Do you think it's
question
going to
we
be
have.
a VR version of that? Like you go to Wu-Tai's a normal kind of town, but then you go to a VR mission, and you fight.
Well,
Those
this
people from
this is
Wu-Tai.
the next question we have is: do you think Genesis, Sonar, and Weiss are going to be in this game?
So Sonon, I think so. I think Sonon is going to be the head of the. I think they're gonna put him as like the. I don't know. I want to say like head captain, whoever of this Wu-Tai war. So he's going to be like leading the Wu-Tai war. But as you go through those stages,
I think he's going to be the last.
He's going to be the last one to fight, and basically, I think what's going to happen is Yuffie's going to have to kill him in order to get like her. If they have ultimate weapons, I'm hoping that they do.
I hope they do. In this,
she will have to get her ultimate weapon in there, basically, and it's going to be like that tragic story because
she doesn't want to kill.
She doesn't want
She's
to.
going to not want to kill.
But
him,
if you play Integrate, like you don't see Yuffie as like she's going to start crying and stuff like that. But at the end, you saw her like emotionally when Sonon started to die.
Because he got taken over by Weiss, so you may fight Sonar Weiss or
I think it would be interesting though.
Itself.
I think it's going to be Sonon, but then I think in the VR missions, you're going to have kind of like the different forms. But I do find it interesting to see how they will set up Yuffie in this one to fight Sonon by himself. Because you have to think like Yuffie's strong enough by herself, but she's much more better as a support character to help with everybody else. So how would you? Because when you fought in the OG one, like she wasn't as strong starting out when you get there, but having her one-on-one with this level, it's going to be interesting. I think Yuffie's one of my favorite characters in that game, so I think it's going to be pretty fun to play. But adding with how we're talking about ultimate weapons, do you think that there's going to be an ultimate weapon, and do you think they're going to change up kind of like the how they use synergy in this one with the battles? Do you think they're going to keep synergy, maybe make it easier to get your limit break, or do you think they're going to expand? Because remember they changed from Remake to Rebirth the way that they did like the XP system and build up what you need and stuff like that. They changed it up completely. So you think they'll change it up one more time? Or
I think so. Going back there, I think you're gonna play with Sid is gonna be just like his traditional one. It's gonna be the Dragoon where he can do the jump, and because the purpose I think for jump in Rebirth was so that you can kind of get the feel of what Sid's gonna be like. Because since they weren't gonna bring out any DLCs. Like, this is how Sid's going to play out like that. So I think that they give you like that. And then with Vincent, you didn't really get to play with him. So you're going to get the full flood of him.
But that's the thing, though, is because he didn't really have abilities in the first one. All of his limits were like
were transforming into it, yes.
So in this one, I'm curious to know what abilities he's going to have.
I think the abilities will be his transformations. So he'll go to like, let's say like the beast, and he'll only have certain like limited to a certain amount of attacks and abilities. Then when he transforms to a different one, it's gonna go like that.
So do you think his attacks are gonna go around for everything he transforms into? So he can transform into something, and then his attacks will be based off of that transformation.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
Kind of like how Yuffie was when you turn into like that what is it, that Brumal form. And how like whatever elemental you threw is basically going to be. I think it's going to be like that.
That will be interesting. I think that would be a more interesting, instead of having it where you turn you use your limit and you turn into like the Chaos Beast or whatever, and then it's like, okay, your limit's done. It would be interesting to see if you can change into something.
Yeah, I think it'll have transform, but not as the limit.
And then have it where it's like, okay, I transform into this beast. Now I have these beast attacks.
Yeah, I think the limit's gonna be his chaos one, his most powerful.
Do you think though that they're going to have like a bar with Vincent that basically you do so much, you gain that bar, then you transform.
Then you transform. Yes.
You could use transform.
I think it's gonna be like that.
Have a certain
He's gonna have like his bullets, because like how Barrett had like the reload. I think it's going to be kind of like that once you reach that gauge, then you can transform into one of
so
the...
So then I can just have three people in the VR mission stand back and just...
Basically.
Far away.
And I think they're going to expand on the abilities, like how they had in the nodes. I still think that they're going to have the synergy, only because Sid and Vincent are in, you never had a synergy with them. So I think that they will, but I think that they're going to make it easier to get and possibly a like kind of like a limit type one where it'll be like maybe like a group one with all three attack, kind of stuff like that. And then I do think that they're going to expand on each person's limit because they never really got their limit 3 and limit 4s. Basically, they got kind of like the limit 2s.
I think they got their limit 3, didn't they? Because finishing touch was what?
Limit. Well, they pretty much changed 3? It all up because it was like a blade beam, cross slash.
Yeah, because those were really just regular. Okay.
So I think that you're gonna have like Omni Slash and all those other ones like that. I also think that when you go and like not Barrett, Vincent's gonna play like that, but you already got Vincent, so I'm trying to think like you'll probably branch off and play with Vincent and the group once you go to the submarine section up on it, because you fighting Lucia and all that stuff will in that one hidden cave, and you find the story of Vincent and how he's connected to Sephiroth and all that kind of stuff like that. You don't really find that in the mansion. You find that in that underground part, and you see his wife and stuff. So I think that once you get to that part, you'll be playing with Vincent, most of the stuff. I do think that they're going to have Genesis, Sonar, and Weiss in there, because with Genesis, he's connected to Sephiroth and he's connected to Zack. So I think either they're going to have him as a flashback, or he's going to be the last boss. Maybe it's not Sephiroth. Like, because when you played Reunion, like you saw how they each took that fruit and they all, went up and all that stuff like that. And so I think that Genesis is not really dead because he's connected.
Yeah, see, and they don't explain that either, because at the end of Reunion, basically, the Genesis and all those guys went to the live stream. Zack didn't, because he ate that fruit. Yes. So he didn't really go back until he died. Supposedly died. I don't know how they're going to bring him back. But when he gave Cloud the Buster Sword.
Well, remember, they had those, like, whisks that came there. And then now they really, like, screwed it all up with, like, the dark whisks and the light whisks now that we're supposed to change the timeline.
I don't know, because I think those are going to represent each of... I think probably what will happen is, because remember, which one is it? Is it the white materia that doesn't have a life currently?
Currently,
so
yes,
I think
it's clear now.
Those wisps will take, like, Cloud's going to use them, and it's going to absorb in that materia, and then he's going to have one in the black, one in the white.
Do you think he's going to get his wings?
Cloud?
Yes. Because since Sephiroth gets the one-winged angel, Cloud gets his wings. I mean, in Advent Child he did. So...
I don't know. I think it's too early.
Well, I mean, this is the last of the game.
I honestly don't think it is the last of the game. I think what they're going to do is they're going to bring... Because, remember, they said that they're not going to end it after this. So I think they'll do the side stories. They'll bring back Advent Children and stuff like that. But I think they'll make those as games of, like... They'll make Dirge of Cerberus.
I think the next game is Dirge of Cerberus.
And then they'll bring in Advent Children using kind of the same mechanics of the Rebirth. I think it's going to be
that's what they're going to do
years later.
But this story is going to end.
I think this story of the original is going to end, but they'll make games for later
Dirge of Cerberus, if I can remember, I think it's like 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I've never played that one. So
the events that happened in 7. So, and it's Vincent trying to figure out what's going on.
But, I wanted to go back to the limit breaks. So do you think it's going to be like Cloud's going to get Omni Slash? Because Barrett has had Catastrophe in the second game. So does he get Unger Max as his like level 4, his final limit?
I don't know if they'll call it that. Maybe they'll call it something else.
Yeah, because remember that was his like what, limit 3, level 2,
part 2 or whatever.
But they took Catastrophe and they downgraded Catastrophe basically as it wasn't as good as
that's why I think
original.
That they're still going to have it, but it's going to be a little bit different.
So is Cloud going to have Omni Slash?
Yes, because he hasn't had Omni Slash. Up on there.
Or are they going to call it Octo Slash and he'll have that one like
Well, I think Sephiroth had Octo Slash.
Yeah, but is it going to be the exact same thing, basically learning it?
I think it's going to be Omni. I do agree with you with Sonar. I do think that when you go to Wutai, you're going to find all this corruption going on. Sonar's behind it. And then when you go through the trials to get up to the top to fight the head of Wutai, I think that's when she's gonna fight Sonar. And I also think
I think Sonon's
I think
gonna be up
that
there.
Cornelio and that other dude, one that played out where they're tied to the statue. I think that's still gonna play out as well. Do you think that the weapons will be like in the OG one where they're going to be out in the world?
No.
Or are you going to only fight them in VR?
I think you're going to fight them in VR. I don't think they're going to make it as like... It would be interesting if they made the third one where it's like you can find hidden things as you go around the map. But I think they're going to tie everything to VR just because I don't think that they have the capabilities of having like the weapon fly around in the air.
They claim that this is going to be the biggest one that's ever.
They could, but I don't think the way that they did the Direction of Rebirth, I don't think that they would do for the third one, because you got to think too. They're trying to get this game out soon, so if they already wrote the script and that's done, they got to put everything else together.
Do you think it'll be more like how in Rebirth you find the summons? Where it's like you got to find all these like little nodes,
yeah.
And then when it comes to it, then you'll fight the weapon.
I think you're basically gonna have to find like pieces or something, and then it's gonna get put together. But I do think though that I mean, it would be interesting. I hope that I'm wrong, and you could go to the desert and see Ruby weapon, and you could go underwater. But I mean,
you saw the Emerald weapon in Rebirth,
yeah,
with Tifa and all that. So.
But I don't think they're.
But you saw two of them.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do the whole.
So I think what happened is the two that you saw were not really the Emerald weapon. I think it's like the kids.
Yeah.
You know, you'll fight like this huge weapon that's the actual Emerald weapon.
I don't think you'll fight it on the world map because it would be interesting to.
Well, you might fight it underground because you're going to be going into the submarine.
No, I think
if they're going to start this.
That submarine though, wasn't that side content though? You didn't have to do the submarine.
Well, no, you had to because you were. I think you were. Stealing the submarine to get to some part, to get the black materia, I think it was. And so you went to the underground part and you saw the weapon, and then you had that time limit to fight it.
Yeah,
and I think that you had the submarine, and I think you did that submarine battle to get that black materia.
Yeah.
Or to get the
no, I don't think
the ultimate materia or the huge materia.
I don't think they're gonna do that. I think they're gonna just change it up to like I think they'll tie everything to VR because
I think that's weak if they do that.
I think they will.
I mean, I think that they will because they wanted to push that in Rebirth, and so I think that they're going to push it again here.
Because you think in the remake they did the VR and it was like, okay, that's cool, but then they expanded it to make it bigger, and now it's kind of like then people don't like the VR because the way that they did it.
Yeah, because I don't think Chadley will be the one that does the VR. I think it's that girl.
I think it's girl Chadley.
Because I think that Chadley is going to be one of the bosses you fight.
I think he's going to be the final
because
one.
When you saw in Rebirth that Hojo's experimenting on him, and you saw the different Chadleys.
He has those like headaches and all that. Yeah, I think he's going to.
I think you're going to fight him. He might end up being one of the weapons or the key to unlocking it because some people are saying on the interwebs that your Buster Sword breaks, and then that's what unlocks the weapons up on there because since you have the black materia, they're linked to the black materia.
Yeah,
they said that the weapon
they were called
to destroy the black materia.
They were called,
and so that's why they awaken up.
Well,
since the Cloud has it.
Here's what I think. I think if they destroy the Buster Sword, it's a good idea because I started the last two games with the Buster Sword. Yeah. So if they destroy it, then you give me an opportunity not to use the Buster Sword anymore.
Yeah, but it's so iconic. That's the only reason why they're keeping it.
So you don't want to destroy something like that that's so iconic for the game to go and just say, okay, we're going to destroy it. Because now you got to think, okay, ultimate weapons now. Do you have it where, I just found the weapon on world map, there's my ultimate weapon, I'm good to go? Or do you actually make it where it's like you complete a quest to get this weapon?
I think
expand it.
I think it's going to be doing certain things to get their ultimate weapon. Like with Cloud, I still think you're going to be fighting in the arena, and then you get your limit break up on there. But then your ultimate weapon, you're going to have to fight the ultimate weapon, and then you'll get his weapon.
That's how you got
like in the OG. I think it's going to be the same. But with everybody else's one on there, I think it's going to be tied to like a story element side quest. So like with Barrett, I think maybe he'll get either his limit or his ultimate weapon when he saves the Coral
Coral
prison,
prison.
from
Mm-hmm.
that train
From the
wreck
train.
up on it to get that huge materia up on it. And I think it's the same with Red 13 when he goes back to Cosmo Canyon and he fights those underground people like he did when in Rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Up on it, I think he's gonna go back there to go see his dad.
So you think
and
they're
then
all
he's
going to be
get the
linked to
weapon.
like side quests?
Yeah, I think it's all
And
gonna be linked to
do
side
you
quests.
think, are they, yeah, a couple things I was wondering about is one, do you think they're going to have like Quadra magic in there?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? And then two, do you think that they're going to have, like when you went back to Cosmo Canyon and you got the the master materials, do you think they'll have the master materials that you can use?
I hope they do, because having in Rebirth where you had to keep buying them all and then they got up all like the master material really didn't.
Do you think they should do
anything.
it though? You master it and then get the master material, or do a side thing? And get it?
One of two ways. I think either you master all the colored ones, and
Yeah,
then
like all
you
the
get
green,
the
all
and
the
then you get
blue.
the master material of that,
Mhm.
or if you find like the master material by doing like a side quest on there, then you have that master material.
But do you think then like they have elemental and you put master material link with elemental
Yes,
and
I
then you're
think-
protected against everything?
Yeah, I think all that will still apply up on there. Another question is, do you think they will have the same mini games or different ones?
I think they'll have slightly different mini games, but it's going to be based off of the locations you go to. But if you can go back to like Cosmo, or not Cosmo Canyon, but Golden Saucer, for instance, I think they'll keep the same ones, but they'll have kind of like
They'll
different
expand.
variations.
Yeah,
just
because
a
you
little
saw when you went to Golden Saucer that they're supposed to have that snowboarding.
bit. Yeah, so like they'll
So
have that.
I think when you go to the Icicle Inn and you do that whole snowboarding thing, then you're gonna have that.
They'll have that as a game.
as a mini game up on
But
there.
remember, you go back to Cosmo, or I keep calling it Cosmo Canyon, Golden Saucer. You go back there, so I think they'll have those mini games.
Do you think that they're gonna have that card game again?
I think.
I mean, it was really popular.
That card game was
but
popular. I think they
do you
will.
think it? Because I mean, you already beat the person that corrupted it all and
Yeah,
stuff like
no,
that.
I think they'll continue it because they'll make it more of like it's a different. You're in a different area, and
So
those
it's
people
like a new
play it.
corrupted person, not
like
that same
new person. Because that card game was actually like, for somebody, for me, I don't like playing those card games as much, but that was fun. I liked playing that. So I think they'll expand it because that is what's popular. They'll get you more cards and I think expand your deck. I'm hoping though that they would let you do like if you found all the cards, put your old save file there, and then you could get all the cards going into the next.
Maybe that would be
section.
cool. Is like all the cards you had in the remake, or I mean Rebirth, transfers over there, and they have new cards, like a new set.
They do.
But kind of like
That's
how
what I'm
Pokemon
hoping.
cards, and you have a new set.
have a
So
new
like
set.
these ones are stronger than the
But I
ones
can still
that
use
you
my
have.
old one
yeah.
right now.
You can do that to kind
Just
of gain
because
the
then
ones.
it gives you more, like it would make it harder just because like the certain build you used for your deck won't work as well
Yeah.
in this one.
And
but
then you'll
it
have to find
encourages
more
you to
cards and stuff.
get more cards and things. So I think they'll keep that. I think the mini games will be tied to locations like they did. Like Junon, you had to ride the dolphins and stuff like that. So I think they'll be tied to locations as well. So I think they will expand mini games, but and there's gonna be one more Tifa. I think it's gonna be like push-ups, maybe. So she had sit-ups, she had pull-ups, and then I think it's gonna be like push-ups. So,
Yeah, it'll probably be push-ups, but that'll suck. I hate that.
but right, or she didn't have squats, right? So
Yeah, they had
Was it
squats
squats?
was the first one.
I thought that was pull-ups.
No, I thought that they had.
What
no,
was it in Rebirth?
second one was it was squats.
Squats, right? I thought
Yeah,
there
the
were
first one was
sit-ups.
pull-ups.
I thought it was sit-ups. Yeah, I
Maybe.
don't remember.
I don't know.
But
Well, whichever
they'll
it
have a
is.
third one with Tifa.
Yeah, I hated that mini game.
So I have a
but
third one with Tifa. I think they'll continue on with the pianos. You play
I
through
hope
those.
not. I hated those. too.
They'll have mini games tied with each location, and then I think
What new mini games do you think that they'll have?
I couldn't really tell you like
Well,
what
besides
type.
snowboarding, I think they'll have the snowboarding.
I can tell you like what type of mini games they would have, but it's going to be tied to like, so when you go to Rocket Town, you'll probably have to fly a rocket or something. I don't know.
Do you think it'll be like the one Golden Saucer where it's like the plane and you go and you shoot? Maybe they'll do something with the rocket that you go back and forth.
I don't
and
know, but yeah, I just see them tied because even though the fans were talking about like they didn't like so many mini games,
shoot. I hate all those mini games.
the people creating these games like adding the
Well,
mini
that's what.
games.
Do you think
So-
that they'll be fishing? Because in all like Japanese RPGs, they always include
No,
fishing.
just because they didn't have fishing in the original, so it would.
Yeah,
go
but they
out
can,
of
they can
element.
always
No, I don't think so.
add fishing up on it.
I don't think so.
Because you'll be mostly going and doing the water stuff up on there.
I don't think so. I think you got to focus. I think if you took out a lot of the mini games, you could focus more on side content.
Yeah, I think
build
that
that
they
up.
need to take away.
But if you want to do mini games, you could do, I would say, like a small handful, but not where it was like everything was a mini
Yeah,
game.
I
And
know.
throw
Like-
all the mini games at you.
Yeah,
But
I
just
mean,
do a small handful.
I understand with Golden Saucer you have to fill it up with a bunch of the mini games, but like that should have only been
That should have been the mini games.
I shouldn't have had to go to Costa del Sol and play the soccer game, play the little shooting gallery, play like you know all these other ones, because that to me like took me out of the experience of the game. And I think that if you want to make a good game, like look at Claire Expedition, like on that one, like they had some of the mini games, but it didn't really get to the point where like, because you didn't really have to do it if you didn't want to.
It's same with Final Fantasy. You don't have to do it.
Well, most of them you had to go do.
So-
You had to play the card game. You had to do all those ones like that. So you pretty much had to do it. But
I think they shouldn't link something to, like, they should let you basically, like, trophy wise, for instance, play every mini game, but not make it where it's like got to be it on hard or anything. Like, just link
like,
it to.
don't do the
trying it.
Johnny thing anymore, where you have to get all those trophies and stuff.
Just
like that.
link it to where you're trying, like, you as a trophy hunter, you want me to just to try your mini games, but don't link it to any. Or if you want to, you can have it where you beat it on hard and to give me something that's going to be good advancing in the future. But it's not like.
But it's not necessary.
It's not necessary. But if I want to beat the final boss, then I gotta play through these. Like give that enticement of saying, well, I get the best weapon, so therefore if I get the best weapon, then I gotta play these mini games, even though it's not required. So something like that would probably be a better.
like for instance, like the arena. If you wanted to get Omni Slash, you had to go through this whole arena. You don't have to if you don't want Omni Slash. It's not linked to a trophy, but you can do that if you want to hurry up and get it early or whatever.
But making for the encouragement to be able to go through it just to try. I think you should just do it where you just try it and then you're good if you don't want to do it anymore. So
now we probably pretty much answered this question, but I'm going to do it again. Do you think you'll have access to the whole map or just portions of it?
I think portions as you go through the chapters. But I think it's going to be, as you were saying, it's just going to be like little nodes. I couldn't just fly into Calm and drop my airship. It would be cool, but I don't think I'll be able to.
I think 90% of the places that you went to in Rebirth will not return.
I think they will.
No, because I think it's only going to be like Golden Saucer, Midgar, and then like the Jenin area where you steal the airship. Like I think that those are going to be the main area. But like doing all that one part where you ride the Bronco around or the plane around and stuff like that, and fill up the whole map area and all that stuff. Like I don't think you'll reach any of those.
Because remember, when you got the plane, you had to like call Sid. You have to you go to those
the
stations,
then go call them and stuff like that.
So
I think that's why they were alluding to, oh, you could go anywhere. I think it's gonna be like that because that's how it was in 10. In 10, you could technically go anywhere, but you had to call the airship, then select it from the list, and then do it. And you did that.
You got to think in 2, they were like, oh, it's open world. You can do this. And this. No, it was open world tied to chapter. So I couldn't have gone to Temple of Ancients if I wanted to.
And that's why I think it's going to be similar to that in the third one. I don't think that you're going to be free to do whatever you want because they claim that they built this airship that you could do anything up on it. But I think that it was not even built in Rebirth to handle that. I don't think that it's going to handle it.
How many chapters do you think they're going to have?
I think that they're going to have about 20 to 30
20 to 30 chapters?
Yes.
I'm leaning towards like 22-ish.
Yeah.
23, probably something like that. More than Rebirth, but I think not too, because I don't think they could do 30 because I think it's going to be too long. But I think that they need to make each chapter more extensive is what I think they're going to do. But yeah.
So then the last question we have is, what summons are in this version that you think, and how do you think that you will obtain them?
Ooh, so I think it's gonna be again linked on VR.
Oh, that sucks.
But I pulled up on my phone. I pulled up the remaining summons, and so I was looking at what is left that they haven't done. So I'm looking at Hades.
Okay.
So I think Hades will be there. Typhoon. Another Bahamut, of course. This one, the old one was Bahamut Zero, but whatever they decide to name it, and then Knights of the Round are your last ones that you have. So I think they'll tie kind of like the VRs again, like how you saw. But you know, I actually think they might add because you didn't get Gilgamesh, right?
You got him as a summon.
You got him as a summon?
Yeah, once you beat him, yes.
No, I couldn't remember if you got him. Maybe they'll add like a Gilgamesh again or something like that. That's what
I think it'd be dumb if they added Gilgamesh. I mean, I thought the whole Gilgamesh thing was dumb anyway. I think that they just added that because they needed to make some sense of putting Genji in up on there. So I think that's.
But yeah, I think that they'll. I think those are the 4 you're gonna fight in the VR again. But Knights of the Round, I think they're gonna mess with us in Knights of the Round. You're gonna have to fight 13 battles to defeat all Knights of the Round to get them as your summon.
Well, do you think? Because some people were saying that maybe Knights of the Round will be linked to the 13 continents because there's and instead of having the like in the OG one, like the little volcano looking one where you got Knights of the Round, they think it's going to be a floating continent. So that then you use the airship to float up there and you go and
regardless if it is Knights of the Round, still not going to be as good because they don't push summons in these games as much. Because
I didn't really use them too much in Rebirth.
No.
But
they didn't push them too much. But
I think it would be cool. They won't do this, but I think it would be cool that if they put each knight is a former Final Fantasy character.
That would be pretty cool.
Like, you know, you get Lightning is one, you know, Clive is one. Like
you can do over the last like 13 games.
Yeah, like that. Have Noctis. Like I think that would be cool because then that would be like a nod to the history of Final Fantasy. But I know that they won't do that because then they got to get assets to all the other ones and they don't want to go and do it. But I think that would be cool.
I don't think that they're going to make it like easier on the fans who want like. Are they going to just make? Because you got to think too. Like, are they just gonna make the trophy list so simple that then you got people who are like, "Oh, this trophy list is so simple, it's terrible." Then Rebirth, and you have that group who complains about how terrible and then you got the other group is gonna be like, "Oh, it's so hard, I can't even." Beat
Do you think that they're gonna add in a hard mode?
Yes, they will add in a hard mode.
If they add in the hard mode, I hope that they take the experience from 16 to go do it. Because with 16, what made it was when you played Final Fantasy mode, like you still had all your stuff that you carried over, but then you got newer weapons that were way stronger to deal with the enemies that were not going
to do that though.
Like that would make a point to want to play it on the hard mode.
That would make it more fun in my opinion, but they're not going to do that because they're going to stick with the model that they had, beat the game, play it through hard mode again.
Because, like, to me, that's boring.
Yeah, it's not going to...
16, I thought it was going to be like that in 16, but then when I actually played it and you can get a higher weapon than the ultimate weapon and stuff like that and build it up on there, and you didn't have to. I mean, you could have still beat the whole game with the weapon that you had.
I beat it with whatever weapon I had. So,
but you could have went out and fought those monsters all over again to go get the materials to build up your.
So now that I'm thinking, when you're talking about that, do you think Cloud Sword's going to be ultimate weapon or is it going to be Ragnarok? That's what I was wondering because they had Ragnarok.
They had Ragnarok in that one too. I think it'll still be ultimate weapon, but maybe they might make it dumb and call it like that Gilgadaran. Yeah, I mean, they had it as the accessory in this one, but maybe they'll make a sword out of this one now too.
Yeah, maybe because that's what they did in 16. But
yeah,
we'll see. I don't think they're gonna make it any. I don't think they're gonna take what the fans want and then make it into to improve this final round of the game. I don't think they're gonna do it. So.
Yeah, and I don't think that they're gonna make you fight 13 knights in the.
I think they will. I think they're gonna mess with you.
I don't. I think it's just gonna be like one big knight. And then, like he'll send
one big knight who gets send 13.
He'll send out his knights up on there, and then it'll be kind of like clones up on it, and then you fight it like that. But I don't think you're gonna like fight this one. I mean, maybe they might do it where you fight one, and then you get like a little bit of information. You fight the other one, you get a little bit of information, and then when you get to all 12 of them, in the 13th night.
Do you
is
think
the
it's
final
going to be
one.
the same, like a world map where you got to unlock this area, kind of like how Rebirth you walked around? And
Sadly, I
unlocked
think that that's how it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that what would be the best thing and would be cool for the fans is just let you do whatever you want at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have the story narrative, they have a little node there where it says like you can go here, but if you wanted to detour to Wutai and learn that stuff on Wutai, go ahead and do it. You just can't beat the game because there's that story drops that you have to go to. But like if I wanted to go there and buy a weapon there and get it more powerful there early and then go do the story beat, like I can.
Yeah.
Like they need to take. I mean, it's already pretty much done, so they're not going to really take it. But like Claire Expedition up on it, like it gave me the freedom. I could do whatever I wanted to go to those parts. They had the story beats that you could go to, but like if I wanted to try to get a better pick dose or whatever like that, and try to fight these ones, like I may not win, but I had that choice of, oh, this is a danger area. These are harder enemies.
You're
had
choice
that
where
choice
you
of-
wanted to go.
Now,
So.
no. One last question up on it is, do you think you're going to start back at level 1, or they're going to start you at like 30 or whatever, and you'll get to 99?
You won't start at like. You'll start at a lower level, not like level 1 again.
You think 50?
But no, they're not going to start you at 50.
You don't think
They're going to start you back at like 10 or something. It's going to be a low level, and you have to build up to level 100.
That's dumb. Like I think that they need to do, because like in Rebirth they didn't take your materia and stuff away to make sense on why you had the Buster Sword again. Like they did in the OG when Yuffie stole all your materia, and you had to go after him to go do it.
They're not going to do that.
They need to have, in my opinion, story beats that make sense on why you're back to your old stuff.
No, they're not going to.
Other than that, it's like, oh, I have the Buster Sword for the third time.
Yeah,
like
you're gonna have the Buster Sword for the third time as your first weapon, and then start getting more
like
weapons.
I think that they need to learn it, but that's what we think of what's going to happen for Remake Part 3. Tell us your thoughts in the comments below, and well, what do you think? Oh, one last thing. When do you think it's going to come out?
So I think it's coming out next year, sometime
2026.
2026. I think it's coming out later, like September, October-ish. And then I think what's going to happen is they're going to push it, and then when the 30th anniversary happens, they're going to do like a trilogy pack, and then remake that going in for PS6.
So when do you think PS6 comes out?
PS6 is going to come out 2027, probably near like November of 2027. So I think they're going to push something like, because you got to think when they made a remake, it was like PS4 version, and then they pushed it into 5 before they did Rebirth. So I think it's going to be something similar to this, because now that Switch 2 is coming out, PS6 is going to come out. So I think
they did say the trilogy will be on Switch 2.
Yeah. So I think they're going to do what they did with the remake. They're going to create it, maybe be out for a year, less than a year, and then they're going to push a trilogy, like remaster with everything in it, and then entice you with something else to add to it in 2027.
George of Cerberus or Sid's
it would be interesting enough if they added like the original, like the OG
one. That would be actually pretty cool.
And then you could play like I want to play the OG one and then play through the remake that they did. But
that would be cool.
But they'll do a 30th anniversary like trilogy pack. It doesn't make sense to me for them to say I'm going to wait till 2027 to release the game. I think it makes more sense to say clean up what you need now,
do the trilogy
late this year, early next year, show kind of screenshots of what it looks like, and then give a release date like September, October next year, push it for a year, do your remake, your remake trilogy pack, push that, and then go into the PS6 era with this as one of your launch games, because you remade it. So that's how I think it's going to be. So I think it's coming out next year.
All right. Well, that's good. That's all of our insights for Final Fantasy Remake Part 3. Again, tell us in the comments up on there.
Tell us what you think the name is going to be.
Yeah, that's probably the most important one that we're probably going to learn. And, never stop gaming and continue on. Support us. In the comments, thumbs up.
Like,
everything.
Share, subscribe.
Yep.
Tell your friends. Tell your grandmother.
Tell your cat.
Tell everybody.
Tell your dog. Tell everybody. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
God bless you guys. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.